Hey guys and gals, it's Darth. We're back with some more Queen's Blade Limit Break video content, and in this one we are finally getting around to going and doing an overview of the brand new ultra rare break, yes break, attribute Arrival Warrior. Now I want to say something that is going to throw you for a bit of a loop at the beginning, and I'm saying this to kind of get you excited and thinking a little bit before we get into the review. This particular warrior is the break version of Sakine the fish. If you understand what I mean by that, you understand what I mean by that. You know I hate the fish. Everybody knows I hate the fish. That is a skill attribute warrior who likes to control and force her opponents into attacking with a normal attack. Very difficult to resist and very difficult to break free from once it's applied. So, is that statement true? What do I mean by that? Well, let's find out together. Screw it, let's get into it. She actually released a couple of days ago, so we're on day 12 of a 14-day cycle for pulling, so I'm trying to get this done as fast as possible, but the game has released several new items over the last 48 hours. I have one video uploading now regarding the change to her Arrival Warrior quest, so we are going to touch on that here, but let's get to the overview of the warrior, her spicy pose, her abilities, and her attribute damage type. Here she is in all her glory. She is very cute. Oh, this is a very cool, very light aspect warrior. I think she looks great. I'm not overly hyped about it or hyper-sexualized about it, although I don't know why I feel like I'm supposed to be. Maybe it's just the game, or maybe it's just my pervy tendencies showing through the more spicy poses I collect. Who knows? Whoa, we got a little rolling here. So, speaking of spicy pose, here it is. This is awesome. She's in a hot tub. I'm choosing to believe it's a hot tub, not just a pool. We got a little steam coming off. She is looking delicious. Speaking of delicious, she looks like she's about to get herself a mouthful of some nerps. No, grapes. It's one of those. Anyways, still very cool. They're both poses are very basic, but they get the job done. They're very cool. They're not. This isn't really spicy, to say the least. But she does look really cool, and I'd be happy to have that as my background for a week or two. So let's get into her skills here. She's classified as a support warrior. Did not want to get a support warrior. To be honest, I would much rather have had maybe a mage or a warrior, although I'm getting burnt out on DPSs. But anyways, damage up, group attack, and affection are her primary descriptors. Don't know that I agree with some of that, but you're going to see what I'm talking about as we go through it. So Harp Master, she gets an attack and HP bonus, which is pretty standard, I guess, for the support warrior. Speed plus 30. She has a 50% chance to inflict affection. Affection is her special skill. All Ultimate Rare Warriors seem to have a special skill. Well, I'm going to revisit the first Ultra Rare Warrior, the Skill Warrior, and show it was Tailwind. And it gave damage reduction when it triggered, and she gave that to all of her allies. We'll go take a look at it. But anyways, she synergized it really well with this skill attribute Tank. This one has a 50% chance to inflict affection on attacker for 2 turns when self is attacked. Affection is when the status owner takes an action, they will perform a normal attack, which does not deal damage. It instead recovers the target's HP by 100% of their own attack. Lasts for 2 turns. So, when she's attacked, direct attack, that could be from a mage, an AoE attack, or a single target attack. This has nothing to do with burn damage or anything like that. When attacked, she has a 50% chance to inflict affection on the attacker, forcing the attacker to perform a normal attack that doesn't do any damage at all. It actually heals you by 100% of their own attack, which is cool, okay? Now, we're getting to the part about the fish. If you can't see it here, then I'll explain it to you here in just a second. So, she has, on turn 1, 2-turn cooldown, she will increase the damage of the ally with the highest attack, except for herself, by 20%. 30% of the damage dealt will heal the HP of all allies. So what she's doing is she's increasing the attack of the ally with the highest attack, or she's increasing the damage, not the attack, the damage by 20%. This is actually kind of huge, as opposed to 20% attack, which isn't really comparable. So 20% more damage. And she's giving the ally that she gives this damage boost to the ability to heal. She's turning the ally into a healer, where 30% of the damage dealt will heal all allies. It's a really cool ability, actually, when you get down to it. Her turn 2 ability, 4-turn cooldown, deals magic damage to all enemies with a 75% chance to inflict affection. Again, if she inflicts affection, she's forcing you or the enemy to perform a normal attack, and then she is granting basically damage immunity to that and healing. She turns the enemy into a healer. She has the ability to turn all enemies into healers and heals by 100% of their own attack. Now, for the special ability that ultra rare warriors get, which is the 5th skill slot here, her ultra rare skill: when an enemy's action triggers a healing effect, deals break attribute, also known as light attribute damage, equal to 30% of the attack to the target. Can trigger up to 6 times. Affection and other buffs or debuffs will not trigger this effect. It's a little confusing because it's saying when the enemy's action triggers a healing effect. The only way that a enemy action triggers a healing effect, again, affection, forces the enemy to take a normal action, and when they do take a normal action, it triggers a healing effect. So it is a bit confusing, so it does actually apply. I don't know why it's cycling like that. It does actually trigger on affection. However, what it's saying here is other buffs and debuffs and things like that on their action does not trigger a healing effect. What's unclear is if this would be a really cool ability if it applied to non-affection normal attack damage as well. Like if the enemy performs an action and heals, like if this particular warrior is on the enemy team and she inflicts the damage up on turn 1, and you guys are healing the enemy team, and vice versa, it'd be kind of cool if it applied to any enemy action. But I don't think that's the way that it works. So, the reason I say that she's the break attribute version of the fish is because this is considered an immobilization effect, this affection. It's forcing the owner to perform a normal attack. It's a control effect, but it's listed as an immobilization effect. If you go back to the skill and the fish, betrayal. Affected deals normal attacks to own allies. Okay, so she's inflicting betrayal. Betrayal is a mez effect where it causes you as a attacker to perform a normal attack. You cannot perform any other actions. It's the same skill. The problem is this new warrior does not do it with the effectiveness that the fish does, because it's on a turn 1. It has a high chance of proccing already at like 80% if I remember correctly. This warrior only triggers it with a 75% chance when she hits all enemies on turn 2 with a 4-turn cooldown. And then if you go back to her passive, 50% chance to inflict affection on attackers when she is attacked. Typically you put supports at the back of the row. She's not out in front. So unless it's an enemy mage who hits all enemies or a warrior who hits all enemies, she has a lower chance of actually being attacked. And unless she's attacked, she does not have a 50% chance to inflict the affection, thus CCing or controlling or immobilizing the enemy into performing normal attacks, i.e. not being able to perform their actions on turn 1 and turn 2. You almost kind of want to put her out in front. She has other elements of other warriors like Spicy Pirate. Not the Spicy Pirate, but Pirate Captain Leliana. Pirate Captain Leliana only counters attack if she's attacked. So her damage output is dependent on putting her out where she's constantly being attacked so she can follow up attack or counter attack and get the extra damage. This warrior is no different. She's a combination of Pirate Captain Liliana. She's a combination of the fish because she is controlling. So she comes in here on turn 2, 75% chance of inflicting affection on the enemy, controlling them, forcing them to perform a normal attack and healing you when they do. Now, because this is an immobilization effect, when you gear her out, you're going to want to use jewels that increase your immobilization rate. Now, if you go in and look at her EX gear, it's right here, immobilization rate plus 10%. This is just another confirmation that it does function as a immobilization effect because the fish functions the same way with her normal attack forcing. Here's the thing, I've tried her out in various aspects. She is no good in boss battles. Absolutely no good. She increases the damage output of the enemy, your ally with the highest attack, but she doesn't do anything else. Affection does not have any effect on bosses whatsoever. Okay, you cannot control a boss and force them into performing a normal attack, at least currently. So she's a PvP warrior, right? Yes and no. She's actually, anytime you have multiple attackers, so PvP seems like she's going to be her forte, but if you are facing, let's just say you're facing enemies like in the tower, anytime you have 5 enemies going in and attacking her, she has a 50% chance at the right star level and level requirements, that is, of performing a affection turnaround, forcing the enemy to do a normal attack. So no, she's no good for bosses, no good for event bosses, guild bosses. Again, she's doing very little damage. She's not even worth putting in there. So where she's going to shine is in similar functions as, like I said, Pirate and the Fish, where you can put her in a position to be attacked. You almost want to build her as a tank, stick her in the front, and give her that additional chance of basically CCing or controlling the enemy and forcing a normal attack. So she's great in PvP, she's going to be good in PvP in my opinion, and she's going to be good outside of boss in PvE. That's my personal opinion. You'll have to kind of decide for you what you want. The skill ultra rare warrior actually has the edge, and the reason I say that is because her special ability here, Tailwind, actually triggers for each status owned. She grants this to her allies. She's actually reducing damage, so she can be used in PvE, normal, tower and stuff like that. But she also is effective at boss battles. Whereas the ultra rare break warrior, no good at boss battles. Not even worth using her there, even for the damage up, because you cannot force the boss to perform a normal attack, thus healing you. There is another benefit, though, to this particular warrior, is that at the start of battle, she will reduce the speed of all enemies by 3%. That is kind of cool, but again, it is not worth technically putting her in a PvE situation if you already have a great PvP team. If the user becomes incapacitated, there's an 80% chance to inflict affection. I would like them to clarify if she becomes incapacitated or if an enemy becomes incapacitated. By the dame here, I think that if she becomes incapacitated, meaning if she dies, she has an 80% chance of inflicting affection on all enemies. That's how I read that. I had high hopes for her when I first started reading the affection ability because it does function similar to the Fish's CC, Betrayal. However, she does not trigger it the way that the Fish does or with the effectiveness that the Fish does, although you can manipulate it, as I said, putting her out there. Gearing options, you're going to want to build her as a tank. You don't actually need speed on her, although if you do plan on using her, some would make the case because you want her to go before your DPS to give you that 20% damage bump. It's not necessary. Just wait for her turn to trigger it. She's going to trigger it on turn 1 anyways. So build her as a tank, build her with immobilization up jewels, and you don't need healing jewels either because she's not a healer. Do not let anybody fool you. She's not healing anyone. She's turning the ally with the highest attack into a healer, changing how she functions specifically. That's it, guys. I'm going to pull her because I did mention I've uploaded a video. They changed the way the Arrival Warrior quest works, that if you do not have the warrior ranked up, you are no longer going to be able to progress very far into the attribute trial, limiting the currency that you get for the exchange. That video should already be live. Go check that out. And with that, I'm going to leave you to decide how you want to pull. I pull for the warrior anyways, so I think I'm going to take her to 10 star, unlock her full potential so that I can try her out more specifically in PvP battles to see if her CC is as effective as the fish is as I think it can be, depending upon positioning. That's it, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you thought. Are you pulling for her? What do you think of her spicy pose and her normal pose? I think it's cool but basic, not necessarily spicy, and I am going to upgrade her spicy pose probably for the first 2 ranks, given that I can use gems to pull for her. That's it for this, guys. I'll see you in the next one.